Όπως θα έχετε ήδη ενημερωθεί, σήμερα σε αυτό το track, αυτή την ώρα, είχαμε μια ακύρωση ομιλίας, η οποία έγινε κάπως τελευταία στιγμή τις περασμένες εβδομάδες. Ένας ομιλητής μας δεν μπόρεσε να έρθει, είχε κάποιο πρόβλημα προσωπικό. Οπότε σκεφτήκαμε να αναπληρώσουμε αυτή την ώρα με μια ενδιαφέρουσα συζήτηση γύρω από τα τρέχοντα θέματα του WordPress. Και τι πιο ενδιαφέρον αυτή την περίοδο από τον περιβόητο Gutenberg. Λοιπόν, εγώ είμαι ο Τάκης ο Μπουγιούρης, είμαι από τους οργανωτές των Meetups και του WordCamp της Αθήνας. Να πούμε κιόλας ότι ως οργανωτές από την Αθήνα χαιρόμαστε πάρα πολύ που βρισκόμαστε εδώ σήμερα και στη Θεσσαλονίκη και ελπίζουμε το WordCamp να γίνει και στη Θεσσαλονίκη ένας θεσμός. Λοιπόν, τη συζήτηση θα την κάνουμε με 4 από τους ομιλητές μας. Η συζήτηση θα γίνει στα αγγλικά. Μπορείτε να κάνετε ερωτήσεις προς το τέλος της συζήτησης και έπειτα. Και έχουμε επιλέξει κάποιους ομιλητές που πιστεύουμε ότι έχουν έτσι πολύ ενδιαφέρουσες απόψεις γύρω από το θέμα του Gutenberg και του πώς το community τον έχει διαχειριστεί την περίοδο που περάσαμε. So, I'm going to switch to English right now and present our guests, our speakers. You already know most of them. We have Gerasimos Tsiamalos from CSS Igniter, Maziar Firismand from ArtBiz, Lena Leku, who is a teacher at SAE College, and Stefanos Togoulidis, who works for Automatic and is also a member of the WordPress Greek community in Thessaloniki. So, we don't have a protocol here. Whoever wants to talk first, just start the conversation. I'm going to give you some ideas about how we should get on with it. So, Gutenberg. Let's start with you, Gerasimos. You have already given a talk about Gutenberg, but do you like it?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a step forward, definitely. Mm-hmm. As I said in my presentation earlier, I don't want to focus in the implementation and the execution of the project right now, okay? There were problems in communication in various stages. I mean, we as a theme shop, I don't know about you, but we weren't properly informed about the whole process. I mean, the project started like 2 years ago. We saw some prototypes, some concepts, some ideas, an outline, a roadmap, which wasn't followed. I mean, they didn't follow the milestones, they missed some dates.
So there was some information, but it was misinformation?
Yeah. In a way, it was. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't sync with them because, we have, like, in our case, we have 70 themes, for example, and we have to set a strategy for a year. Are we going to produce more themes? Are we going to update those themes? Are we going to add more features to those themes? And this takes time. I mean, we need like 4 to 6 months to set a strategy when you have this volume. Mm-hmm. So when we started asking questions, for example, last year in April, they were telling us that the first version will come out in April. Nobody could see that. We couldn't see that. The product wasn't mature enough for a version 1.0.
And so it happened.
Yeah. And now we are in December and we see the first version, which is still not mature. I think, in my personal view, it wasn't a proper 1.0. There are some major problems, and there are problems that the user will see immediately. It's the user interface. Mm-hmm. I know, for example, that they have a solid foundation now, technically, programmatically. Mm-hmm. They feel confident that they have a very good foundation. But the user interface, the first thing that the users will see, it's not there yet. Mm-hmm. So why the rush? There is this why floating around in the community, and we don't have a clear answer. Why? Why now?
Mm-hmm. I see heads nodding. Do you feel the same? Yeah? Please go on.
Definitely. First of all, guys, I'm not a developer, and I don't care about the bugs that Gutenberg has. And I know that there are 7,500 open issues right now. Matt Molenweg said in WordCamp US opening remarks that you guys, maybe developers, will take care of them. It's appreciated. But speaking as a product designer, which is what I'm doing actually in my company, ArtBees, and being a expert team producer, a premium team producer, I care about UX. I care about experience. And definitely experience has been revamped in Gutenberg. I don't remember, honestly. I've been into this industry, in WordPress industry, for like, I don't know, 7 years now. I don't exactly remember when was the last time I used TinyMC editor to post something, to create a blog post. I hate it, honestly. Only when in my first encounter with WordPress, in the early days of ArtBees, I worked with TinyMC editor. So, of course, it was necessary, and of course, it should be released in Rush. That's my personal, because it's already late for an upgraded version of the main editor in WordPress. Which software, which product has not been updated in the last decade, honestly? I cannot find it. Which OS, which app, which platform? There's a decade already, so of course it's time, and maybe that's why they did it in Rush. Of course it has consequences, it has costs, maybe it has a bad debut and launch, a lot of bugs are there, but was it necessary? Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Do you want? Yeah. I'm gonna talk about the educational part because I have a lot of concerns how new developers or new designers can learn properly WordPress when you have this different interface and confusion, and we have all these builders outside in the world, and I'm very concerned how they will learn to use it properly and make very well-structured websites. So I'm not sure right now.
You haven't already decided where you're going to direct your students yet?
This year, when we have WordPress lectures, I said there is Gutenberg, but no, for right now. Just wait to see how it will go. So that's my part.
Well, I think from this point of view, it's not a concern actually, because you have plenty of time, okay? Especially with the classic editor, you know, you have like 3 years. So yeah, for education, I mean, maybe for new users, yeah, because they have to invest time and maybe, you know, define a roadmap, which is sometimes bigger than 3 years. When you have to, you know, lay down a strategy of a 5-year plan, maybe it's a concern. But for a student who wants to use WordPress and maybe use it for a couple of years and, you know, get the grip, use a theme, use a builder, understand the community, understand what's going on, what's good in terms of themes, plugins, builders, hosting. There are so many things that they have to tackle right now. So yeah, for the short term, it's not a concern, I think, because of the classic editor. Maybe in 2 years, if Gutenberg is in the same phase right now in terms of UX, yeah, I think it's gonna be a concern, definitely.
I agree with you.
Yeah, although I do have the, you know, the question of what's going to happen if Gutenberg still is in the same place in 2 years. But that's a big if. I would like to hear what Stefanos has to say.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I should start that I am biased. You already stated my affiliation. I work for Automatic. Even though I'm here as Stefanos Togoulidis, I'm not representing my company. And I'm also the tech lead for Gutenberg Mobile, the native part of the project. We're still in alpha. There's no public movement yet, but we're in the process of expanding that. So again, I'm biased, okay? So having said that, I kind of watch the whole story unfold, both from the inside and the outside. And it's very interesting. I see huge contrasts between opinions and attitudes and adoption rates. Magical. It just shows that the community itself is all over the place. and it seems like something is brewing here, both bad or good, who knows. I mean, time would definitely tell. Right now, it seems like things have been shaken up really well. So we need to see where things will settle. But also some magical things have happened at the same time. So for example, hey, there's Drupal adopting Gutenberg. What? I mean, we're starting to say like, okay, but I mean, this is a whole new universe in a moment. Like, can we have plugins that work across platforms? Whoa. I mean, nobody designed that. It was not a thought. It was totally by accident. And it happened even before. So there was a concern in the team, in the website team, that Drupal would publish Gutenberg before WordPress.
I also hear that the Drupal community was super excited with the idea of incorporating Gutenberg from day one.
So I guess on one hand, it is a kind of a validation that something is good there. I mean, we didn't force Drupal to adopt it, right? So this is an indication of something is good. Again, there's also this big uproar from the community itself. So this is another indication that, hey, hold on. Can you bring us along? So I think this is quite a big change that I'm not even sure if it would be done in steps, because technically the steps have been already made the previous years. So in Gutenberg, even though it's 1.0, it's probably the third version tried out. Actually, yeah. Not the same, right? In terms of attempts, how many attempts there been to have another editor, even a block editor?
There was also a pretty failed attempt the first time, right?
Of course. That's the thing.
It was rewritten from scratch.
Yeah.
Right?
And I guess this latest approach was more promising. That's why it stuck. I mean, the whole thing of let's do it as a front-end JavaScript application. This opened up a whole new universe in a moment. So, and again, I'm watching this both from the inside and the outside. So from my point of view, it's a very nice TV drama unfolding. I'm kind of enjoying it, I guess. I'm also trying to stay impartial, even though I'm in the project, right? Let's not kid ourselves. But yeah, I think I have mixed feelings at this point. I'm totally having my ears open for feedback from people. And it seems like when people are talking, they're actually honest. I haven't encountered, let's say, any vitriolic attempt to put down the project. No, there are actual concerns from people. So we need to listen and let's try to make it better. Even post 1.0, right? So yeah, I guess this is my overview.
But I guess the main complaint from the overall global community was perhaps not exactly what Gutenberg is or where it goes as a vision, but how the project was handled, or for some people imposed on the community.
Yes.
We've heard people complaining about that. So did this happen? Was it, shoved down the throat of the community? Was there?
It was, but that was not the purpose. That was not the goal. I think some things happen naturally when, for example, developers take all the decisions. So when you have a team of developers saying, hey, we're gonna build a new awesome editor, and it's ready, so we need to ship it, right? Yeah, okay, maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe there's a process to get it out. So I think that process wasn't really planned ahead, even though there were thoughts of, let's do this post and this other post, but that's not the same. So I think that there was no bad intention. It was just the natural thing of how things are structured right now. It happened like that because developers are doing all the work and they want it out. And then they come up to the marketing team and say, hey, can you help now? Yeah, maybe yes, maybe no, probably not in this case. So I think that definitely there was, well, it's pretty apparent. I mean, who says that it was a successful rollout? Technically it was, in terms of Did it fail? Did it break? Did the internet shut down? The 32%? There were 3 almost. So no. But then why is everyone on the fence about it? So I think the discussion happens in a couple of different levels, and it's healthy that we have it, apparently. Now, apparently, we also need to keep doing that, keep trying to understand what's happening and try to see if we can make it better. We're not rolling it back as a community. I think the ball has already started to roll. And with Classic Editor in the game, I mean, the only thing changed is the default, right? And who's afraid of that? People that installed WordPress, enabled automatic updates, and then left the building. Okay, that's a valid strategy, but okay, it's like building a house and expecting it to be there 50 years later. Yes, it can happen for a house, not for software. So I think that this is what we're seeing right now. We see a mature community, and what happens when a big change actually happens.
It's a groundbreaking change.
Of course, yeah.
So, the rest, do you also feel, Maziar and Gerasimus, that, you know,
I personally feel that it's
could the process have been done in a better way, perhaps? Okay, it wasn't great, it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
What could have been done?
I'm not sure if I have an opinion about the technical process, about the deployment. I'm not sure about that. If I have the education and the knowledge to commit something to that. But I think the major problem was the communication part. And maybe not a coincidence, maybe a coincidence. I believe it was a coincidence. The fact that the team, the leader of this version was Matt, okay? So we have Matt, the biggest player in our market, yeah, who introduces a new concept to the whole community. So I'm transferring right now discussions with my users, okay, who are thinking like the following. Okay, we have automatic, a new editor, the community, and basically what's happening here? Probably they knew a new experience in WordPress.com, so they can break it, test it, bulletproof in WordPress.com easier. It will make it easier for us.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yes, of course.
WordPress.com actually doesn't have Gutenberg.
Yes, I know that.
Which is weird.
I'm just
right?
transferring some patterns from different discussions, and I feel that probably the fact that Matt was the leader for this release, it was a problem actually. Combine that with the communication problems, especially in the last 2 months. We're going to ship it on November 27th. No, we're not going to release it on 27th. We're going to have an RC. The RC will keep going for 2 weeks. It didn't last 2 weeks. It was actually 4 days. And then we are at December 4th, I think, when we learned that in 2 days we're going to have WordPress 5.0 with a new editor. So I don't see any technical problems in there. Okay, and this is confirmed from the actual deployment. There weren't any major problems. The support for me, even in WordPress.org, I didn't see any major incidents, any volumes, any spikes. Other theme developers, plugin developers, the reports are the same. We didn't see anything different. So yeah, the problem is the communication of this whole thing.
And could the communication have been done beforehand? And I have a nice quote for you. Perhaps Maziar could comment on that. We can democratize publishing, but can we democratize the process of developing the tools for publishing?
I always say after this Gutenberg became a thing and everyone started to talk about it and the resistance movement started, I always tell my colleagues, Ruz and Bob, in RPs, that Medium wouldn't be a thing if an editor like Gutenberg was born years ago. There wouldn't be anything like Medium. People migrating from, democratizing the publishing is a nice word to say, but do you provide the right UX for your community to produce, to publish? No. So I can say this definitely helps and impacts the process of, as you say, democratizing the publishing. And so the answer for your question is yes, absolutely, it affects. If I got your question right.
It affects, but is it possible to make the process of development more democratic?
Well, I don't think I'm the right person to comment on this because this is more of a development thing. You know, releasing updates and
you could project the same question in the UX field of the thing as well.
Well, as long as you're running an open source product, an open source software, and you give a chance for other voices, not just Matt's. Yeah, of course he says the last word maybe because he's the boss. He runs the company. This is clear. But I think WordPress is a good example of a democratic software development company as well. Maybe it's not ideal, but I think still it can be a good example. The process of releasing is a nightmare and is a very complicated thing. I'm not a developer, but I have been to this. Maybe a month before WordPress 5, Bebo, we released Jupyter X, the latest version of our theme, and you were talking about this thing that deadlines keep changing and postponing. This happens and we have just 100,000 users. So think about millions that are using themes, businesses. So it's a very, very difficult thing to do, and it's an open source project. It's not iOS. Okay, you don't have control over everything, and you have to take care of all of the contributions that this community, open source community, is doing. So let's acknowledge that the release process is, especially such a huge and major update, is a very, very difficult thing to do. Can we expect a better release? Of course, we should always expect for more, but I don't take this as a very, very serious problem that will affect the future of WordPress. I think people will move to Gutenberg flux by flux happily, sooner or later.
Okay. Do you feel that Gutenberg is actually a leap forward, or just something to compete with Wix or Medium?
No, I think the
question is for everybody, of course, right?
Oh, okay, sorry
Go on. Just saying.
Thanks for the opportunity. I think the biggest difference between WordPress and other publishing platforms is its culture and its community, and it's not being a money-making machine. Wix made use of WordPress legacy and in some part, I guess, code. However, this is just my idea. I know that Matt wrote an open letter about them using them, I guess, in their mobile software. All of that aside, I think the biggest difference between Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, Webflow, all of them, and WordPress is that there is a culture. When they say democratizing publishing, yes, I can say this is real. This is not a hashtag. This is not a movement that's trending and everyone talks about. I really feel like without WordPress, publishing wouldn't be at the point that it is now. So I can say it's a huge leap forward. However, every new movement comes with resistance. You remember when iOS 7 was released after Steve Jobs, I guess, everything changed in the iOS 7. Or when Apple Maps was released, everyone started to troll them and compare it to Google Maps UX, how bad it is, how incomplete it is. But it put it down a spin. Maybe it was shaking, maybe it was slippery, but it did. It started something and then improved it and strengthened it. So I think the same is going to happen for Gutenberg.
Okay, because some of us worry that if something so big happens, perhaps sometime in the future, 33% of the internet might indeed break down.
Yeah.
Huh? Of course.
Because I say I had concerns, but I see something positive, because before Gutenberg, we have a huge issue with all these builders that were using, that the developers or designers were using it. Somehow it seemed that it was a demand from the rest of the people to have something more useful in the user interface. So probably when the WordPress has thinking of it, it was something. No, sorry, but I'm thinking in Greek and I'm trying to say it in English.
Feel free to say it in Greek as well. Will help.
Okay. I feel more comfortable that WordPress is doing such a try and not someone else. So I will.
So you think like WordPress is preparing the film for a more uniform builder
yes, exactly.
area,
That's
arena.
why I'm trying to say. And that
I feel you.
when we will use it, and will be more. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah. Can I say it in Greek?
Yes,
and
of course.
then translate
Stefanos
it?
will be glad to help you.
Okay.
No,
Okay,
I mean it.
Αυτό που θέλω να πω είναι ότι θα είμαι και θα είμαστε όλοι λίγο πιο ασφαλείς ότι επειδή το κάνει το WordPress και έχει την τεχνογνωσία, θα είναι κάτι πιο stable και πιο σταθερό και δεν θα είναι τόσο, αν το βγάλουμε όπως είναι οι builders, ότι αν έχετε σίγουρα πάρει κάποιο theme το οποίο είναι στημένο σε ένα builder και αν βγάλετε το builder όλο το πράγμα θα σπάσει. Ενώ αν ξεφύγουμε από αυτό και αφού υπάρχει αυτή η ανάγκη για να έχουμε ένα διαφορετικό τρόπο μεταχείρισης του WordPress από το frontend, ας το κάνουν από το WordPress και ας μην το κάνουμε με άλλο editor.
I think we get what you mean.
I don't know
why
if
not?
we have
A quick one. A quick one.
This is not a translation. I'm interpreting. I think you said that we're better off trusting Gutenberg core doing this change instead of either the third party on the platform or a different platform altogether.
Exactly.
Cool.
Okay, but Stefanos, keep the mic.
Oh,
Are we killing builders?
No, I think we're freeing them up to actually do the interesting things on top of Gutenberg. So the idea of Gutenberg is not to come and erase part of the ecosystem, but to be the common denominator. That is, it was already out there. So the patterns were already out there. People were using them, but being not part of core, it meant that it was a fragmented experience. So I think the idea here is that, hey, the core has just acknowledged that this was a good idea. Let's bring it in. And now let's build on top of that. And it seems like it's also an idea that can get us move forward for the next X years, who knows? So I think that's the rationale there, and not to start erasing parts of this nice economy, basically, right? And if I may add to the previous part of the question where it was about democratizing the process, right? That's a very interesting question. We're starting to see that we're not just talking about a community here, we're talking about an economy. And you know where else you can find an economy? In a state. Where people are actually living their lives and they have their government taking care of stuff, right? And they have some expectations from them. And they elect the next set of government and so forth. So we're looking at an economy that powers, let's say, 33% of the internet. And all sorts of people are depending on that for their income. So we're talking about an economy here. And I think that history has...
But there are no elections here.
Of course. That's where I'm getting at. That I think history has already shown that democracy is probably the system that has less wars. Right? So
it's not always good.
Yeah, I'm not saying the best or what. I'm saying it has the least number of wars.
We're not talking about politics, but technology here. Of course.
Well, that's the thing. We're actually talking about.
Don't get anybody wrong.
I think we're actually talking about politics when people have uproars and they are ready to
not
fork.
In the social field.
Forking. What is forking?
That's definitely politics. When we're talking about the fork like last press, I think, well, that's a stance. I mean, you said the strategy. You say, I don't agree with the project. I'm following this route. So it's politics, basically.
Yeah, of course. It's politics, but in another field. I mean,
yeah,
we're not commenting on democracy in the social field. Right.
Maybe we want it, though. That's the thing. Maybe we're just starting to want more democracy in this game. Right? That's where I'm getting at.
That's an idea, yeah. Anybody who feels like they have a question for all or for one of the speakers, they might start preparing their questions. We're going to have a mic going around. Μπορείτε να την κάνετε στα ελληνικά και θα την μεταφέρουμε και σε χρειάζεται. So I see Maziar has...
you talked about killing other builders and a lot of mouths.
I was provocative. You got that.
That's a good point because I'm actually one of those people who can be immediately or over time affected by this. Because I'm running a team development company next to my 24 other colleagues. So I'm in the center of this threat. Definitely it will. And if you watch the...
I see you're not feeling threatened at all.
Exactly. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you saw Matt talking in the opening for VC US this year, he said that definitely there will be a lot of changes happening in team industry. There will be less teams. And imagine how I feel hearing this, being a team development company. But it's a good thing because that's not the purpose of a software and its community where it says, I'm going to democratize the publishing. So the first thing that company, that software should think about is the UX, is the good of their audience, their users, not the companies who are getting fed from that technology. Yes, the economy, as you said, and Stefano said, is part of it, but the community, the user, comes first all the time. So I can say, I support this idea, but being a business runner, I don't feel worried and I don't feel endangered because it will raise the quality of the teams. There will be less but more capable teams. Teams that can support 1, 2, 3 different builders and they have their own audiences. Well, we know there is this new page builder called Elementor emerged, and they're doing a good job. How much do you think they will get affected from the emergence of Gutenberg? I don't think much because we have iOS and we have other platforms. We have Android, and they have their own users, and they have their own advantages and disadvantages. So I think the same is going to happen. But the game will be more competitive, and between those who have something solid to offer to the market. Honestly, I think one of the reasons that we have thousands upon thousands of teams in the market right now is that WordPress didn't have a solid editor. I said, okay, what is this? A user says, what is this? I'm going to start publishing. Okay, I'm going to create this good editor and I'm going to sell it to people for like, I don't know, whatever amount of money, and that's a business. But when a solid editor, as a base editor, the native editor in WordPress is introduced, definitely those people will say, okay, now I have to make something better than this. I have to either add something to this or, I don't know, somehow compete with it. So overall, this is a good change and in favor of the users of WordPress. Maybe not the companies powered by WordPress in the first hand, but over time, I think if they embrace the change, they're going to benefit this change as well.
Yeah. Can I add something to that?
Yes, and then we're going for the audience questions.
And I think it will be the first time that we will see the notion of continuity will be introduced with Gutenberg. I mean, I do agree that only the best will survive in this industry. That's what you're saying, basically, and I do agree. But let's imagine for a minute that we have Project Gutenberg in a very mature state, version 3, 4, in 2, 3 years down the line, and you have a very good project. I know about your project. You adapt Gutenberg, you adjust things, and your content becomes compatible with Project Gutenberg, with the basic structure of the content, okay? I think it will be the first time that we will see people switching to builders, to themes easier. Because the underlying technology will be the same. I mean, I'm using, for example, Divi, Elementor, or whatever, a commercial product, and if I want to switch to something else, it's very difficult right now, sometimes even impossible. And yeah, I'm very excited about this part, actually.
Great.
that some theme shops, instead of competing, they will, they will be able to cooperate in a sense. For example, if you buy something from me, a theme, a very simple theme, and you want to transfer it to another page builder which is based in a way on Gutenberg, it will be very easy to migrate your data, to migrate your settings, whatever that is. Exactly. That's exciting.
All good points, really. Yes, we can hear your question.
Εγώ καλύφθηκα από τις δύο τελευταίες απαντήσεις. Ήταν η ερώτηση αν θα μπορεί κάποιος να χρησιμοποιεί καινούργια θέματα, καινούργια πράγματα, καινούργια υλικά, καινούργια εργαλεία από την αγορά και να τα προσαρμόζει ή θα έχει αυτόνομα και μόνο θα καθορίζει την εργασία αυτή το WordPress. Από ό,τι είπατε θα είναι συνδυασμός. Θα μείνουν οι καλύτεροι.
Να απαντήσω στα ελληνικά.
Any language you wish.
Θα απαντήσω στα ελληνικά. Κοιτάξτε, νομίζω ότι αν αυτό το πράγμα φτάσει κάποια στιγμή να έχει μία βάση τόσο σταθερή και οι παίχτες που αντιλαμβάνονται και νιώθουν ότι αντί να κλειστούν και να θεωρήσουν πλεονέκτημα ότι το προϊόν τους πρέπει να γίνει κλειστό και να χρησιμοποιήσουν τον Gutenberg με δικές τους τεχνολογίες να προσθέσουν πράγματα, να ράνουν, λάθη που έχουν κάνει τεράστιες εταιρείες στον τεχνολογικό χώρο, όπως είναι ο Internet Explorer, ας πούμε. Το επανέλαβα, που θεώρησε ότι το να κλείσει το web μέσα του ήταν το ανταγωνιστικό του πλεονέκτημα. Νομίζω ότι τουλάχιστον σε αυτή την αγορά οι περισσότεροι καταλαβαίνουμε από open source, δεν ξέρω και αν συμφωνούν οι υπόλοιποι, αλλά νομίζω ότι πλέον δεν είναι το θέμα το πώς θα ανταγωνιστώ εγώ ένα μεγαλύτερο theme shop, όπως είναι τα παιδιά δίπλα μου, αλλά το πώς θα μπορέσω να συμβαδίσω μαζί τους σε περίπτωση που κάποιος βρει κάτι καλύτερο, ένας πελάτης τους δει κάτι καλύτερο σε μένα και από τη στιγμή που μπορεί με έναν διακόπτη σχεδόν να γυρίσει σε μένα, να μπορεί να φύγει. Και όπως θα έρθει σε μένα να πάει και στον δίπλα. Και να υπάρχει ένα τέτοιο είδους συνεργασία. Δηλαδή, το θεωρώ απίθανο αυτό το σενάριο. Έτσι. Το να υπάρξουν αυτή τη στιγμή 14-15 theme shops είναι μαγικό. Ζουν πολλοί άνθρωποι από αυτό, είναι τρομερό. Το να υπάρξουν όμως 3.000 theme shops δεν το θεωρώ κακό. Έτσι. Και αν δεν είμαι μέσα σε αυτούς προσωπικά, δεν θα με θίξει κιόλας. Δηλαδή, δεν τα κατάφερα, κάποιοι τα κατάφεραν πιο γρήγορα, είχαν περισσότερα μέσα, θα βρω κάπου άλλο την ευκαιρία μου. That's okay. Αλλά αυτό το γεγονός ότι αυτά τα 3.000 theme shops αυτή τη στιγμή βαράνε στον ίδιο ρυθμό, θεωρώ ότι είναι η πρώτη φορά που θα το δούμε στην κοινότητά μας. Το προσπαθούμε χρόνια. Με τα ελεύθερα, με τα free themes στο org. Μην βάζετε widgets, μην βάζετε custom fields ώστε να μπορούν να κάνουν switch εύκολα οι χρήστες. Και ξαφνικά έρχεται μια τεχνολογία που λέει τώρα αυτό είναι εφικτό. Θα πάρει χρόνο. Θα στεναχωρηθούμε, θα σπάσουν sites, οι πελάτες μας θα δυσαρεστηθούν. Ναι, θα γίνουν όλα αυτά. Αλλά απλά αυτό που λέω εγώ είναι ότι ας κρατήσουμε ένα 5% της σκέψης μας μακριά στο επόμενο βήμα και ας είμαστε θετικοί και τέλος και κλείνω, έχουμε τη δυνατότητα να το επηρεάσουμε αυτό το πράγμα. Αυτά.
Και εκτός και πληροφοριακά, για όσους δεν το έχουν ακούσει, ένας από τους βασικούς στόχους των επόμενων ετών είναι να δημιουργηθεί και ένα marketplace για blogs στον Gutenberg. Οπότε να δημιουργηθεί μια καινούργια αγορά, όπως υπάρχει η αγορά των themes, των plugins. We're talking about the vision of having a blogs marketplace, right? So it's some area closes down, but another one opens up as well. Stefanos. Do you have any more questions?
So I think I might add a controversial opinion on that. So the idea, and even Matt said it, that, yeah, maybe we don't need a few thousand or 100,000 themes. Okay. So I'm going to say now something that goes against what my boss says, so we can turn off the cameras. So that's good. Yeah. But no, I think I'm old enough to have an opinion on this, that no, actually we're going to have the very same thing. But now we're going to have it on top of the block language instead of the HTML language. I think blocks is the new HTML. It's only one step above it. It opens up new possibilities in terms of UI, but yeah, maybe not so much. I think that everybody feels like, oh, this new thing, it unifies everything, just like HTML. And you can do fancy stuff with that. Even GeoCities blocks. Ooh, okay, like HTML. So I think we're going to reinvent widgets. Just give it enough time. And so,
me too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Let's
so
get rid of that.
yeah, I think we are getting rid of that just because we are erasing the field. But just an opinion and my 2 cents. I don't have any inside information on that or whatever, right? Matt thinks the opposite. So I think that, yeah, maybe we probably shouldn't be that afraid of slicing the community or the economy or whatever. I think the same people, they will reinvent the economy on top of Gutenberg.
Great. Let's go to the next question. We have one here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm a core developer, as you know. So I just wanted to basically ask or discuss a little bit more, since Takis mentioned it, that we're basically democratizing publishing. Okay. The thing is that Gutenberg had like 3,000, somewhere on 300,000 installations. Okay. Classic Editor at the moment has over 1 million. So Gutenberg was a plugin, and like 2 weeks ago, it went to the 33% of the internet, from 300,000 to 33% of the internet. And the Classic Editor has actually 3 times more installations than Gutenberg had. Is that actually democratizing the way that we should be building WordPress? Because that's what was the question before. Because we as core developers had like a lot of discussions pre-release with Matt and everybody else that we should actually postpone the process. We're not against releasing it. We want to release it. We want to have it out there, but it could just remain, let's say, as a plugin for a little bit longer. That was the thing from, let's say, major companies, since especially you said that we're talking about an economy at the end of the day.
Okay, let's discuss it a little bit more.
I have an idea. I think there's one thing should be acknowledged, that I said, and I guess other guests as well, that the idea is great. Execution, deployment, maybe it's not great. It's far away from the ideal. But at the end, it will serve the purpose of democratizing the publishing. Yeah, the release would have been better. Maybe I'm not the best person to comment on it, as I said. But the idea is great. And also, you are a core developer, so you know this way better than me. There are many people who are relying on agencies or advisors or whatever entities that telling them to update or not to update. I, for one, and my company, for one, we told our 100,000 users not to upgrade to VP5, okay, because it's not reliable yet. Your site may break. WordPress itself says that, right? This is a beta release. So many people are waiting. Many people are conservative about the business they're running with WordPress-powered websites and stuff. So I said this is an gradual thing, I think. But at the end, this will be good for the good of the community. But as I said, and I fully agree with you, the release would have been way better and less flawed.
Yeah, so we practically could have kept it as a plugin for a little bit longer.
We could. We could. We didn't.
Yeah, okay.
So let's pass the microphone over to Apostolos as well. Anybody else can ask a question? Okay, next.
First of all, thank you very much for your for the discussion. Actually, I haven't been following the Gutenberg project until today, which I heard Gerasimos speaking in now the panel, and I think that the way people are saying what they're saying is because we have two different groups of people with different interests. We have the developers that when you force them to something they didn't vote for, generally they don't like it.
That's something developers
they don't like
do.
It. And
the
truth
like
is
change.
that WordPress did something. It didn't do it the right way because they didn't use the governance process of the open source community to ask if this should be a core feature. They rather, at least this was what the developers felt, forced them to accept it. On the other hand, we have WordPress that says that users that are not developers want something easier to work, and all competition does that right now, at least the commercial competition. So there we have another force that inspires the WordPress leadership, maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we can know that wants something easier, that moves the project forward. Now, from my point of view, I'm going to keep a comment from Gerasimos from the first talk that said that we need to discuss this and make a step forward altogether through the open source part of WordPress, through the community. But it should be the governance model of the WordPress. Even I work with open source, with various open source projects, is even today not very clear for me. So maybe there should be a more clarity.
It's a crash test for the whole open source community, you know, such big changes.
On the other hand, if it's not forced, we're not going to be able to test it real fast, and it's going to be a plugin for very long. And that's why I think it was forced. So from my point of view, I'd like to see the WordPress open source part promoting a discussion on that. So as for the rest of the development community, feel that they are part of the decision next time, and maybe support it or at least have a say to that earlier. That's my 2 cents. I hope
it's an opportunity here as well. We're discussing it. Anybody want to comment on what Apostolos said, or we can go to the next question? Yep, we have another question over here. Amos, we have a question over here. Raise your hand so we can see you. Yeah.
Well, sorry for my English.
You're excused.
I want to say that Gutenberg shows of the ability to be compatible with any site based on WordPress. So this feature tries to hit the other page builders, and the history said that, like programming languages, as an example C, which is one of the famous nowadays, made a lot of years before, has been alive until now. The thing is that, do you think that the ability to be compatible with any site based on WordPress should force the existing page builders to transform as add-ons on Gutenberg?
That's a nice question on behalf for the builders of builders.
Can you rephrase the last part of the question? I just missed that part.
Whether you should adapt what you're doing as a builder of builders in order to be compatible with Gutenberg, or could you just go your own separate way?
For one, I think yes. The answer is yes. If a page builder wants to survive after this era has begun, they have to work with Gutenberg. It's not like they have to exclusively build for Gutenberg, but I think a successful and solid page builder, if they want to compete, is to work with their competitor as well. Think of cross-play between Xbox and PlayStation. They keep saying it, but it's not happening. I think it's going to happen this year, finally, and I will be very happy, for one. Is it a bad thing? No, it's a good thing. Do they lose market? Do they lose their fans or users, and they will move away to the other competitor's platform? No, that's a good thing. So I think the same is going to happen. I think we will see plugins or extensions added to existing page builders, like, I don't know, Elementor, and they will actually work with each other. So it doesn't mean that the existence of one means and implies the death and demise of the other.
Ένα μικρό σχόλιο να κάνω κι εγώ. Μικρό.
Αν είναι μικρό.
Και δεν έχουμε καθόλου χρόνο. Απλά να πω ότι εντελώς τυχαία συναντηθήκαμε με την Drupal community έξω πριν από καμία ώρα και προτάθηκε να έρθουν να μας μιλήσουν για τον Gutenberg. Γιατί ισχυρίστηκαν ότι είμαστε τρελοί που διαμαρτυρόμαστε γι' αυτό και είναι ένα καταπληκτικό project το οποίο θα πρέπει να έρθουν να μας το δείξουν.
Θα έρθουν να μας πείσουν για τον Gutenberg.
Ναι, θα έρθουν να μας πείσουν για τον Gutenberg. Οπότε αυτό θα κανονιστεί το Γενάρη, στο επόμενο meetup. Ήδη έχουμε κάνει την επικοινωνία και είμαστε πολύ περίεργοι να δούμε τι θα μας πούνε.
Θέλουμε την επικοινωνία και με τα άλλα communities, να μας βάλουν μυαλό, γιατί όχι. Έχουμε κάποια άλλη ερώτηση πριν να κλείσουμε?
Ωραία.
Εντάξει. Thank you very much to all our speakers.